What was the catalyst that made you decide that you were going to start a completely new business as a coach instead of a counselor? Was it a catalyst, or was it a series of events that inspired you to move into the coaching industry?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, to tell you the truth. Around about the year 7 mark, and I know that you would understand this as a former social worker yourself, after 7 years of working very, very intensely, often in a one-on-one and group capacity, small group capacity with people who were incredibly high need, suicidal, extremely mentally ill, really desperate life situations, I started, to be frank, Patty, to feel a bit burnt out. I describe it as a bit crispy around the edges. I never got myself to the point where I was completely out, but I certainly started to feel as though I would have a holiday and then a week later be thinking about when was the next one.
It wasn't enough. A week wasn't enough, was it?
Yeah, and I just started to think, I'm starting to feel tired. I'm starting to feel a bit jaded. This is not feeling the way that it once used to.
Yeah.
But I always knew in my heart that I would continue to work with people. I couldn't imagine ever not doing that, and ever probably not doing it in a helping capacity. And then universally, a colleague actually, a nurse at a local school that I did a lot of work at, said to, and we got along very well, and I'm still friends with her today. I went there for a school visit and she said to me, "Hey, I got this information flyer in my mailbox on the weekend, and it's about this new thing called coaching." So we have to remember this was about 16 years ago. And coaching itself as a profession is only about 20 years old. So I wasn't quite at the forefront, but I was an early adopter. And she said, it looks really interesting, and I thought of you and I thought you might like to come. And I thought, why not? They're putting on wine and cheese, so we'll go.
It's a win-win. I win either way, right?
We'll see what it's like. And interestingly enough, it turned out not to be for her, but I knew that as soon as the presenter started talking about what coaching was,
yep,
and how you could use it in a way to help transform people, and also that it was something that was not a way of working with people who were really desperate for help, but in fact was a way of working with people that were high functioning,
yep,
and really wanted more for their life. And so you could open up conversations about self-love and confidence and their dream career and, how they wanted to live their best life. And I felt like I'd been hit in the heart with an arrow, and I knew that it was for me. Yeah. And in that moment, I signed up for what was at the time, 16 years ago, a $3,500 course.
Back then, that was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money. That was a lot of money, particularly when you were a social worker. But I just...
Yeah, I laugh, but it's not funny.
I knew that it was for me. And, after that, I just started very slowly working gently with one client here, one client there. I continued to work as a social worker. And then the short version is, Patty, that slowly over time, I just cut back on other forms of work until I was able to move into having a full-time coaching business. And then eventually we moved into the academy. It did not happen overnight.
No.
And I think that that's very, very important to tell people, because that's one of the things that I see in the industry now that often really concerns me, is that there's a lot of marketing that happens out there that is very seductive and gives the impression that you can make this happen very quickly. Whereas when I first trained to be a coach, that sort of marketing wasn't around because...
There wasn't that much competition either.
Well, no, there wasn't. It was very new, and some people still think that coaching is very woo-woo and kooky, but you can imagine what it was like 16 years ago. People thought that was just crazy.
Yeah.
Why would you see a life coach? That's insane. But there was no shortcuts back then, and nobody knew that there was any shortcuts or believed that there was any shortcuts. And I still don't think there are any shortcuts today.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of marketing that would like to convince us otherwise.
What I love is that you said it didn't happen overnight. In fact, one of my inspirations one day is to write a blog post, and it's going to be called How I Became an Overnight Success in 10 Years.
Yes. Yeah, I can completely relate to that, and I think a lot of people can. It's we need to hear more stories like that, because those stories truly are the reality. Yeah.